So everyone should be able to see my screen right now. And I'm going to spare everyone some PowerPoints here. I have one PowerPoint slide that I'm going to show you guys. I know we all hate PowerPoints. I hate them. And the majority of this is going to be spent around actually showing you the product. When we talk about mobile management, you know, really what it comes down to, there's a couple key things that people are typically after. And the number one thing is, you know, I want to get an inventory. I need to know what hardware and what software are installed on my application. So with mobile management, we can get an inventory on these iOS-like devices, on these Android devices, Windows mobile devices. So we can definitely get an inventory, and I'm going to show you that throughout the demo as well. The next thing is going to be software publishing. So what I have the ability to do is also determine and publish applications down to the users' iDevices and say, hey, what are applications that I want to make sure that everyone has? And I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like on the agent and actually how we would set that up. One of the next big things that we also look for is actually configuring security permissions. So I do a lot of work, guys, for people in the public school system. And all too often, they come to me and say, you know what, Pat, I would like to go ahead and block, you know, the ability to people use the camera on some of these mobile devices, or I want to, you know, do content blocking. So we can go ahead and, you know, configure security on these devices. I'm going to be showing you that as well. So here today are the list of all the different mobile device operating systems that I can support. So what you see here in this slide is a big emphasis, first off, has been on Windows Mobile. So Altiris has been in the game for a while as far as being able to manage these mobile operating systems. And the first big emphasis has been around Windows Mobile. And that's why you see so many checkboxes here on Windows Mobile operating system. The next big release that Symantec released was focused around iOS-type devices. It's crazy, you know, when the iPad got released, the iPhone, how that is like taking everything by storm. And I've worked at a number of places where it's like, you know what, we're really determining, do we want to, you know, continue buying laptops, or do we just keep purchasing, for example, iOS devices or iPads? So definitely a huge emphasis on the latest release around the iOS devices. And the next release is going to be focused around the Android operating system. That's going to be on the focus of the next release. Now, the next thing that people say is like, whoa, Pat, you tell me I can't manage Android? I can absolutely manage Android, and I do it currently with the system leveraging Exchange ActiveSync. So enough with you know, PowerPoints and notepads. I want to actually get into showing you guys, you know, some of these key components here. So this is the Symantec Management Platform. For those in the room and for people who are also up on the webinar watching in, the mobile management solution can coexist in your environment if you already are managing desktops, if you're managing servers. Mobile management plugs into your infrastructure just like any other component. So what you're going to see here is I can expand first off configuration, and what I first want to show you, actually let me back up, I want to show you some inventory. So what you'll see here is I've got some different iOS versions. I have some iOS 4, I have some iOS 5, and guys, what you're going to see here is that our engineering staff here at ITS act as the guinea pigs into our mobile environment. What this means is, you know, we have an Altiris agent installed on our mobile devices, and we're managing them. So I'm going to pick on my iPad here. So when I right-click here, I can show me all of my mobile devices, and here you see here is Pat's iPad. First thing that I can show you here, when I right-click on this machine, I can go to iOS, and I have a couple different options here that are available, which are pretty slick. One of the things that people will come to me and say is like, hey, I want the ability to be able to wipe the device if it's lost. So I can go ahead and specify that, you know, wipe my device. I'm not going to wipe mine live here because I do want to go home later tonight and watch some videos I ripped to my iPad. But, you know, other things that I can do here is I can lock the device. So when I click on lock device, what we're actually going to see here is on my iPad, it would lock within a couple of seconds here. It would get the command, and my iOS device is going to go ahead and lock. Now, other things that I can do in here, I can also obviously I can wipe the device. But there are some other ones here. Look at this. Remove the mobile device management and reset the agent. So often I come into places and I'm being asked, like, well, Pat, we're really torn. We don't know what to do. What are other people doing? We have people bringing in iDevices, which are personal, that are entering our corporate environment. We want to make sure that if an employee leaves the environment, that our data is removed, but the personal data is retained. So that's where this remove mobile device management comes into play, where it would remove the Altiris agent, the application itself, along with any security permissions that maybe I push down to this endpoint as well. So this is absolutely something that a lot of people are looking to be able to do with these mobile devices. Now, let's go ahead. I'm going to right-click on this machine, and next I'm going to look at what's called the resource manager. So anyone that's in the room or in the webinar is going to know something very familiar. This is our resource manager. From here, I can view at inventory. Now, why I like showing this is looking at an individual level, okay? I can also look at a report that shows me all of my corporate devices, right? So anything that you see me looking at Wednesday, Tuesday, I can see everything. So what you're going to see is a list now of all the different programs that I actually have installed. If you guys get anything out of this, I definitely have a lot of different video games in here, and one that I'm really into, what I'm playing right now, is called Zombie Highway. So if I scroll down, you're going to see some Zombie Highway. So if you get anything out of this webinar, everyone needs to, at the end of this, go download Zombie Highway onto their iPad or iPhone. It's a free game. It's great. But anyways, again, I can search for things, right? I could type in zombie, and it would go ahead and narrow down my search results. So I've got, here's my Zombie Highway game. So this is looking on the individual device level, okay? I can also report against everyone. If I were to go to reports and all reports, I can come in here, and under mobile management, I have a ton of different reports that I can run. So here I see iOS installed applications by device. So this is where I was talking about reports, where I can go ahead now and run this against all my machines. And I can go ahead and specify, okay, what's the actual, device I want to run this on. I can run it from report as well. Maybe I'm interested in seeing a cumulative count, right? I have reports that would show me that as well. So the next thing I want to show you is going to be setting up some of these security permissions. Now, a lot of times when I come on site, people tell me, they're like, okay, we have a number of different wireless access points in our environment, but the keys, the wireless access point keys, are extremely complex, they're not user-friendly, and they're very long in order to retain a secure environment. So what I want to show you here is if I click over here under iOS configuration, what I can actually do is I can pre-populate, so see where it says Wi-Fi, and I'm going to pick on one of our engineers here, Joel. He has configured a hotspot. So what we can do is I can configure all these different profiles and push these down to my machines. The next question that people have is, well, maybe I have different settings or different permissions I want to deploy, for people that are maybe in the marketing, our marketing type iPads, or maybe people that are, in human resources. What we do is we can target different subsets of machines and apply different security permissions to them. So here, I could absolutely go ahead and pre-configure, what's the description? What is the access ID? This one's called Joel's iPhone. What is the password? And I can go ahead and type that long password in here if it was a very long password. The point of this is after that agent, the Altiris agent, gets installed, we can then apply the setting down to that iDevice, and then the end user will just automatically connect into Joel's hotspot whenever it becomes available, and that's an option then to that particular device. Other things that I can do is I can do restrictions. It's asking me, hey, do I want to save my changes? I don't need to save. I'm just going to go ahead and click on cancel. But next I'm going to go to restrictions. So here, our Vice President of Engineering's got a policy here that's called Disabled Bob. And what we have done in a previous demo is we locked Bob down. But so here's where we can do that. So do I want to allow people to install applications? Maybe not. I could take those kind of permissions away. allow the use of the camera, allow the use of FaceTime, allow people to screen capture. You know, if you hit the Windows button on the bottom and the top, it'll take a screenshot. So we want people to be able to do that. I can configure that here. Under applications, do I want people going to YouTube? Do I want people to go to the iTunes Music Store? Maybe it's all configurable here, guys. And last off here on ratings, I can go ahead and specify, okay, let's you know, if it doesn't have a G, if it has a G rating, you can watch it. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to allow that content to be visible on that device. So after we go through and configure these different profiles, there's one more I want to talk about, Exchange ActiveSync, okay? So let me cancel my changes because I don't want to save it. This is another very big one here. So here I have ITS mail that I've configured, and what I've done is I've specified my Exchange server, which is itsmail.itscommunications.com. And I populate in with the domain, and then I don't populate the user and email address because that's up at that point, the end user, when they go to check their email, they would place in their username and password. But it would, you can configure it so that it'll push these settings down automatically, and the last thing that's left for the user to do is enter in their credentials. So after I configure all these different provisioning configurations, the next thing that I have to do is go ahead and actually start pushing this out. So when I go under Actions, I can go to Mobile, and you see Mobile Configuration Management. So that's what I'm going to click on here. So here's where I can leverage all these different security policies and apply them to different subsets of devices. So here, I'm just going to pick on, for example, this disabled Bob one that we were picking on earlier. Here you see configuration settings. Remember all those different ones that we were looking at? We were looking at Joel's hotspot. I can add in all these different settings that I've already pre-configured and wrap them into one master policy, okay? So I could put in Joel's phone as well, and I could click on OK. Towards the bottom, see where it says Apply To? This is where I can come in and specify who do you want to apply these security permissions to. And we can be very granular in Altiris World. So what I can do is I can go ahead and if I had placed these machines into collections, I can go ahead and select them. If I was leveraging what are called groups in the Altiris console, I can go ahead and just create a group that says, hey, all mobile devices are to get these particular policies. I can go ahead and specify that as well and just apply it to all mobile devices. The next thing I want to show you guys is going to be the software library. Go back to Home in Mobile Management. So here, under the Mobile Library Editor, you're going to see I have some applications that I've been pushing out. Now, what I can do is we can specify an application from the iTunes Store and publish it to to my devices. Now, so here's my NASA application. When I click on Edit, you're going to see I have different options that are available to me. So this is a NASA application, and look down here. See where the item link is? This is really what we're doing. We're pointing it to the iTunes Store. What this means for you guys here, let me go ahead and show you guys a screenshot of what this actually would look like on an agent. So first off, here's my little iPad device here, and you're going to see here's my Altiris agent located here. The next thing that I will do once I open that up, here are my applications that I have published to it. So here's that NASA app. I had Zombie Highway, but another engineer probably moved it thinking, hey, we can't be having games inside of our mobile environment. So they took my phone away. But anyways, I can specify what applications are required. So maybe we're using Citrix. So maybe that's a required application. I can go ahead and add in all the required applications, and we can install them from the Symantec Management Agent. Now, the next question that people say is, well, are we actually installing the application, or is it just publishing? The answer is it's publishing the app. Currently, we can't install any software to an iOS device. It's one of those Apple things where it won't let us actually just say, hey, install this right now. We have to notify the user, and that's what this can do, is it can prompt up and say, hey, notify the user that you have a required app, which is called NASA, to install on this machine. Other things that I can do here, this says documents here on the very bottom. So I can publish PDF files to all of my mobile devices as well. So why this is beneficial, I've been to a number of places where, again, they come to me and they're like, okay, we have all these iDevices entering into the workplace. Our users don't know how to integrate and use that device with, the existing network, for example. So what we can do is maybe there is some PDFs, some general how-tos. Here's how to access your email. Here's how to integrate into existing applications, and to tie it all together. So that's things that you can publish to the Altiris agent as well, and make sure that all those devices have, particular PDF files. So let me go back here, and that's where it's specified here under item category. So when I hit the drop down, here's where it said document. So I could publish a document to my iDevice. I can publish an application. If anyone on the phone, publishes and creates their own iOS applications, you can do that as well. You can publish out your own iOS applications. So some of the other things I like to show people here, let me go back into devices by operating system. I'm going to pick on my iPad again. I also have the ability to track by GPS. When I right-click on a machine, I can specify here, I can be like, hey, show me this device on Google Maps. So here's this particular device and where it's located. Why things like this are beneficial is, like, we've all done it. We've all misplaced a device. But now we have an ability, once that agent's installed, to track, where exactly the device could be. And then if needed, I could wipe the device, right? Okay, this thing's in Brazil, it's gone. Get rid of it. We could do things like that. Device summary reports are great as well. So this is, this is just giving me a list up here of all my different mobile devices that I have in my environment, and a list of the IP addresses, the device name, etc. So another question, which I got going, I forgot to go into this, is, okay, Pat, this is great. We're configuring these devices. We're getting inventory, publish software, put Zombie Highway down, and push down some wireless keys and email. How do I actually get the agent installed? If anyone wants to, they can actually open up, if you have an iPad or an iPhone, you can actually go to the App Store, and you would be able to type in Symantec, and you're actually going to see the Symantec Management Agent as a free application, okay? That's one way of getting the agent installed. The other way, which is our probably preferred method, is to compile your own agent. And what we would do is we would place that, agent that would be publicly available on, for example, my an internet-facing server. And then I could type in, a friendly name from Safari on a particular mobile device to install that agent. Why we recommend that over just an iTunes is because if it installs through iTunes, it has to abide by some of those Macintosh laws, if you would. And what I mean by that is, if the iPhone or iPad was locked, the agent wouldn't be able to communicate. But by compiling your own agent, the agent will continue to live and work. So even if the device is locked, we're still able to do things to those devices. So you have two options, but pretty much everyone would be wanting to compile their own particular agents. Good. So under Exchange ActiveSync, so remember when I was mentioning, I've got other devices I'm interested in. I got Android, I've got BlackBerry, etc. What I can do for those Android devices is I can manage them through Exchange ActiveSync. Okay, so the mobile management solution ties into that. So I would be able to go ahead and tell my machines also to wipe, but it leverages Exchange ActiveSync to those Android-like devices. Next thing people ask is, okay, that's great, but what's the future of this tool set going to be? We have Android devices. Are we going to get a full-fledged agent like I would have here? The answer is yes. That is going to be on the next release, where each release has been focusing on a particular operating system, the first being Windows Mobile, the second being iOS, and the third is going to be on Android. So that's what it's looking like as far as to get those rolled out. We anticipate that's going to be part of Service Pack 2, which I believe is going to be the end of Q1 next year. Oh, does the installation of mobile management create a new asset type for mobile devices? The answer is yes. It would allow a different asset type. So we have asset types of computers. You have asset types of, well, really anything. You can have printers. You can have mobile device, or I'm sorry, routers. Yeah, so mobile management also has a resource type of mobile device. Absolutely. And that's actually a very key component of, I think this individual asking the question was, probably has what's called in the Altiris world an asset management suite setup. And that's what's important here, is that all this information that I'm obtaining on these particular mobile devices will be fed into your main Altiris notification server. So then if I was, wanting through asset management to track warranty information, okay, I dropped my iPad, am I under warranty? I can track those type of things. And maybe you're already doing this for desktops and servers, it feeds into it. There was also a question where it's like, hey, what are the biggest compelling reasons for comparison of mobile management versus other competitors out there? I can say myself personally, where I think that we really bring the biggest benefit are for people that are existing Altiris shops. And what I mean by that is if you already have an infrastructure that's running on Altiris, it plugs into that Altiris infrastructure and it feeds the data inside, okay? Obviously, I can give you guys also, point-by-point breaks. If people would like to see a side-by-side comparisons, I can send those type of slides out and what they call like battle cards. But actually, I mean, in my opinion, that is where I see the greatest differentiator between the two, from Altiris' mobile management and all the different competitors that would be out there. So question was, how do you get the agent on the iOS device and keep it on there? So again, I'm going through these. You probably typed this in way early and I missed it. But two different ways. Again, we can get it through the iTunes store, or we can compile our own agent, okay? And that's what you're going to probably want to do, and then publish it to an internet-facing server and to allow your clients to go ahead and download it from there as well. There's also a question here which I want to point out. It says, and keep it on there, right? So right now, I'm not aware of a way to keep that agent on. Okay, so what I mean by that is just like any app store software, the user has the ability to hold it down and click on delete, and they would be able to remove that. That is something, again, I believe we're governed after, where Mac won't let us make it. So it persistently stays on there. I believe that would be the same across everyone. Could this replace the good email client? Sure, absolutely. So what we do, there is not a native email client for Altiris. When you saw me configuring Exchange ActiveSync, it is leveraging the existing mail. Okay, it's not as if you have to retrain your users, for example, to use a different email client. It's going to use the same email client that, well, your users have been using all along for their Gmail, for their AOL. It's going to live within that. Next thing is, well, what about when I want to remove company data? For example, when I was right-clicking, I won't do it exactly on Wade if Wade's watching because Wade is my boss, but when I right-click on this and I do remove the mobile device management, it removes that agent and any security policies I would have pushed down, so it would then yank off, for example, my my email settings on that particular device. It would remove that as well. If the agent, okay, so here's a good one. If a person removes the agent, does it remove the configurations applied to the device as well? Yes, it would. So when you uninstall the agent, they'll have the next option will be also uninstall the MDM configurations. Yes, it will remove both of them. A user removes the Symantec applications. What happens to the corporate data and the application? Okay, so for example, when you uninstall the Altiris agents, so when I publish, for example, Zombie Highway, I made that as a requirement, okay, to pop up on those users. When I install the Symantec Management Agent, that application will remain on the iOS device. Where Altiris would remove it is going to be if it was an in-house developed application. That's the default behavior of the product. Now, the next part of the question is, okay, what about corporate data? There's lots of ways that we can look at corporate data. One of the big things is going to be email, right? So what we can do is when we remove the agent, it will remove any of my email settings, removing any of those locally downloaded emails to those particular devices. There's other things that if we really want to are really concerned, corporate data. I want to lock these devices down. There's actually going to be another product release that's called mobile management data loss prevention, which, in the future, we're going to be having a whole segment just on that. And what that's doing is making sure that if I'm emailed something, that it never leaves my device. They never have the ability to forward it from that iDevice to a personal account. It would block those sensitive data from ever leaving that iDevice. So that's something we're going to be having on a future webcast as well. Okay, there's a question on the developer license where it's enterprise and normal. Enterprise gives you detailed information, extra inventory. What can I do with the $100 license? So the $100 license is going to be for personal use. To be in compliant with standards, you would want to go with the full-blown Apple developer license. Don't quote me on it, but I think it runs around $300. I believe the personal is that $100 one. What I can tell you is that in our particular mobile management lab here that you see us running here, we use the personal lab for our demos, but to stay compliant, we would want to use, for example, the enterprise. So why I put this out is for people that are maybe conducting their own proof of concept. You wouldn't be limited by using a standard, but long term, you'd probably want to be looking at doing that enterprise one. So again, guys, thanks for watching. All right, guys, awesome. Thanks again.